Hey everyone, welcome back to Le Mans Ultimate for this week's video. Now you're going to see two races today, the only two races I've been able to run this week, and the driving standards have been shockingly bad, particularly on the opening lap. It's been absolute chaos out there. Now you might remember my final video before taking time off was an LMU GT3 race at Le Mans where I wasn't able to complete the first lap. Well, I'm back to see if things have improved, and race 1 sees me starting from P6 on the grid with a qualifying time of 4:07.4, so I've got a decent chance of a strong finish here, but it all depends on keeping myself safe on this opening lap. That has to be my main aim. Now get your popcorn ready for this one. It is going to be one long crash reel.
Green flag.
Well, as soon as the lights go green, the driver right behind me on the grid, Thomas Bayazar, has been handed a drive-through penalty. Meanwhile, in front, the Aston Martin looked a bit sluggish off the line. I was tempted to try and pull alongside, but you know what? I'm just going to think better of it and tuck back in behind him. It's tricky enough navigating that Dunlop curve when you're 2 wide, never mind when you're 3 wide. So I'm just going to try and keep myself safe here. That is the name of the game on this opening lap. And as a result, I've been passed by the BMW of Giuliano Fiocchi. I may get passed again because there's a McLaren alongside me, Sergio Youre. I'm certainly not going to contest this position coming into the S's, so I let that McLaren sneak by up into P7. So yeah, I've dropped 2 places through the first few corners here, and I'm certainly not going to be disappointed about that. I said before the race got underway that it was all about self-preservation on this opening lap, and if that means surrendering a position or 2, so be it. We know this combo can be absolute carnage. There will be freebies up for grabs. There will be crashes. The important thing is to make sure I'm not involved in those crashes. Incredibly, it looks like we've still got all 20 cars on the track at the moment, but that could change as we approach the first chicane of this Mulsanne straight. It's the first true heavy braking zone of the lap. It often causes mayhem, and it looks like it has caused mayhem behind. There was a big wreck in the rearview mirror. Meanwhile, in front, the BMW of Matteo Bozet was out really wide. Bozet has dropped a position as a result of it, and another big wreck ahead. There's a car bouncing off the barrier, one to the left, one to the right. I don't know which way to go. I just about guessed the right way. That was too close for comfort. Now we've got a severely damaged McLaren in front of us. That's Quinton Chardon, the pole sitter, and Chardon loses it in the rearview mirror. He slid right across the track, so close to taking me out. Well, let's take another look at this on the replay. I knew lap 1 was going to be dangerous. I knew I had to look after myself. I just about managed it. Here's the coming together. Chardon and Yifan Wu. Now watch this Aston Martin right in front of me. That is me taking evasive action. Somehow I managed to get by unscathed. Let's take a look from another angle. Now keep your eye on the McLaren of Quinton Chardon, because he is going to give me my second big fright in the space of about 5 seconds. Chardon bouncing off the barrier. Now he's going to come back on to the racing line right in front of me. This is me behind him, and straight away I noticed he was missing his rear spoiler, so I pulled out as wide as I possibly could, but even then I was so close to being taken out. And it wasn't just in front of me where it was all kicking off. This is what happened behind me on the approach to the first chicane. A huge wreck, once again caused by drivers getting tangled up with each other. That was Michael Simek in the Ferrari flying through the air after contact with Alexandra Bilara in the McLaren, and that ended up taking 4 or 5 cars out of this race. Well, I lost so much time down the Mulsanne straight having to avoid those opening lap wrecks. The cars in front all carried on at full pelt, which gave me a lot of work to do. We're rejoining the live action now at 3/4 race distance. It's taken me this long to close back in on the pack ahead. Now, I've been using that BMW of Matteo Bozet as my target, but Bozet has now actually got past the McLaren of Jason Rodriguez. Rodriguez looking a little bit out of shape through this section at the end of the lap. He's been kicking up a lot of dust, and it was one mistake too many that allowed the BMW of Bozet to get past. So it's Bozet up into P4, Rodriguez down to P5. I'm within 1 second in 6th position. There are still 5 minutes left on the clock. Can I mount a challenge to get myself into the top 5 here? Well, we're going to jump forward to the start of the next lap. I'm getting closer and closer to Rodriguez. The gap just 0.4 of a second now, and Rodriguez is looking shaky. He is making mistakes. So the McLaren driver clearly feeling the pressure here. It's up to me to apply even more pressure, and if I can't get past him, maybe I'll force him into a mistake. I might not have to wait long. That is a big mistake. He completely missed the the apex going into Tertre Rouge. He's surely going to be handed some sort of penalty. He has been given a drive-through penalty. I breeze past Rodriguez into the top 5. Right, let's jump forward again towards the end of this lap. Unfortunately, Bozzett is just a bit too far ahead. He's 2 seconds clear and I'm just not able to close the gap. Meanwhile, behind, my nearest challenger in P6 is Sasha Nimod. We turned the TV cam on to watch Nimod. Now he's currently 5 seconds back, so I've got a pretty comfortable advantage over the 6th place driver. But all of a sudden that pressure is going to be lifted completely because Nimod has spun out. And that could very well be the moment that hands me a top 5 finish in this race, because we've got just 1 lap to go and I've got a near 10-second gap to Rob Luke behind. And sure enough, that was how it ended. I took it very easy on that last lap, coasted my way around to be guaranteed a top 5 finish on my return to Le Mans. I went a bit quicker in the race as well, a fastest lap of 4:06.5, but ultimately my goal of staying safe on the opening lap paid dividends. Now the only disappointment was that it wasn't a more entertaining race. It was more about avoiding trouble than it was battling with other drivers. So with that in mind, I thought I'd try the race a second time. However, things did not go as well, and it didn't take long at all for it to go wrong, as I completely messed up my 1 flying lap in qualifying. I lost the rear into Tertre Rouge and spun out. Now, although I somehow managed to avoid invalidating my lap, it meant I'd have to start all the way down in P16. Suddenly, staying safe on lap 1 was made even harder, and then it got even worse as I suffered the dreaded Le Mans Ultimate drive-through penalty for speeding during the rolling start. Now, this penalty could have come from one of 2 incidents. We're watching the first one now. I'm following Simone Riva in front of me when that McLaren suddenly takes off, launched into space. Now, that flustered me a little bit, and my instinctive reaction was to speed up to try and catch the car in front, but of course I get an urgent warning, slow down. So I do slow down, but whether that was what earned me the drive-through penalty, I don't know. More likely was that it was the second incident, and that happened just as I was coming through the final chicane. The 60-mile-an-hour speed limit came in just a bit quicker than I was expecting. It caught me out. I was going a little bit too fast. Now I tried to slow down as quickly as I could and get the speed limiter on, but it was too late. So yeah, both incidents extremely unfortunate, but nothing I can do about it. As soon as the lights go green, I get confirmation that a drive-through penalty has been handed out for speeding. And this also caused me to make the most terrible start. I forgot to switch off my pit limiter. I should have switched it on earlier. I certainly should have switched it off earlier. As a result, I find myself right at the back of the pack. So any hope of a good result has been absolutely destroyed. So all I can do now is stay safe on this opening lap. Of BMW spinning off to the left. Another BMW spinning off to the left. There are cars rejoining from the right and left. So a far more chaotic start than race 1. I've picked up several positions. Now I'm alongside the Ford Mustang of Jan Corinthius. Corinthius closes the door, squeezes me out. I had to back out of that one, but look at the big cloud of dust to the right. There are more cars out. So absolute carnage on the first lap of race 2. Somehow I find myself back up into P13 already. Only a couple of corners ago I was right at the back of the pack, but we've already lost 4 or 5 drivers. And I sense that there may be more freebies to come the way this race has started. Such a shame that I'm going to lose so much time going through pit lane to serve this drive-through penalty. But let's see what the rest of this first lap serves up. We know that it's going to be lively, so for now I'm just going to concentrate on trying to get as close to the pack in front as I can. We're approaching this first chicane now. Yellow flags are out. Have we lost someone else? Yeah, looks like a car facing the wrong way mid-corner. It's the BMW of Fernando Alonso. Alonso starting P4 on the grid, has spun out at the first chicane. So that puts me up into P12. I am now visibly closer to the cars in front, closing in on the BMW of Christian Stormy. I've got the pace down this straight. Will I be able to make the pass? It looks like I will do. So that'll be P11 as we approach the second chicane. We're making such good progress here. That is 7 positions picked up already on this lap. Really frustrating that I'm going to end up giving them all back when we get to the end of it. Look to the right, another McLaren in trouble. That was Simone Riva. So that is an 8th position gained. I'm now into the top 10 incredibly. Nico Schaefer is the next driver in front of me in that Aston Martin, 0.3 of a second in front in P9. Now, I'm a bit unsure on what to do here. I'm making good progress, but I don't want to fight too hard for position, given that I do need to go down pit lane. I'll probably do it at the end of this lap just to get it served and out the way. If I can pick up another couple of positions in the meantime, all well and good. However, I'm not going to do it like that. I missed the apex into the right-hander at the end of the Mulsanne straight, and that allows Alexis Hoover in the BMW to dive up the inside. Now I'm under attack from another McLaren by the looks of it. Yeah, it's Youre Gando taking full advantage of my mistake into that corner, getting on the gas a little bit quicker than me, right behind now. I'm going to hold the advantage as we approach Indianapolis. But I also remember how my race ended 2 months ago in my last video before my break. It was at this very corner, and it was with a car sizing up a move just like Gando is doing. So I'm going to let him go through, and I'm glad I did, because he absolutely threw it into that corner. Another car out to the right. That was David Lafargue. So although I surrendered a position to Gando, I've gained it straight back. Oh, and look at Gando, another dive up the inside. This time he's careered right into Nico Schaefer. He has spun Schaefer around. Dear me, this first lap is an absolute shocker, isn't it? I mean, I said it was going to be bad, but I never envisaged it being this bad. It is an absolute horror show out here. Now, am I going to get alongside Gando? Now, I've got to be honest, I don't trust him one bit from what I've seen so far, so I'm just going to back out of it. And actually, that's going to cost me, because it's opened up a gap on the inside for Neil Adams to get through. However, one position will be picked up anyway, because there was a cloud of dust to the left, and it looked like the McLaren of Rens Lumen had spun out. So incredibly, I'm going to end this first lap in P10. Now, I've given away several positions. Had I not done that, I'd have probably been near in the top 5. That is an unbelievable stat, given that I was at the very back of the pack going into turn 1. Sadly, though, it is all going to be in vain, because I'm going to give all those positions back now as I come into pit lane. Now, I could have stayed out for another lap or two, but the way all these guys are taking chunks out of each other, I think it's safer for me to come in and serve this drive-through penalty now. And the way this first lap has gone, the odds are on other drivers taking each other out, so there should be some freebies when I come out the other end. Right, let's take a breather and go back and see exactly what happened, starting with turn 1. Now watch the second BMW. That's Alexis Hoover just going to get spun around from Jan Corinthius behind in the Ford Mustang, and then exiting the chicane, another BMW gets turned around. This time it's Didier Trendle getting spun by Nico Schaefer. And it only got worse from there. We're now watching Youre Gando. Now, I was terrified of Gando when I was close to him, and this is why he's just run right into the back of the red Ferrari of Marco Abassa, sending Abassa spinning into the gravel. Moving on to the first chicane, and another big incident. We're watching Fernando Alonso in the BMW battling for P2 with Simone Castagna. There's contact. Oh no, the BMW is going to rejoin right across the racing line, and that causes more mayhem. And it was particularly significant for Simone Riva in the McLaren. We're watching Riva come into the chicane now, and he bears the full brunt of that rejoin. Then he gets collected from behind. Now he's lost his rear spoiler. That is crucial for the next chicane. We saw McLaren spin out of the next chicane. It was Riva, and the fact that he's lost his rear wing explains why. Dear me, this first lap is absolute carnage. I mean, I've featured some crash reels in my time, but this has got to be the longest one ever. Fast forward to Indianapolis. And that is David Lafargue spinning out of P5. Then straight after that, we saw our old pal Youre Gando getting up to even more mischief. He's certainly not afraid to stick his nose in, is he? And he's going to do it again here to the Aston Martin of Nico Schaefer. Not once, not twice, but 3 times there's contact to spin Schaefer out. And still we're not done. There is going to be another casualty, this time Rens Lumen spinning out of P6. This was another position I managed to pick up before ultimately losing them all down pit lane. Well, I say losing them all, I actually lost more time than I did positions. I'm going to return to the track, and I'm still in P12, so that's actually a gain of 4 positions from where I began on the grid. Incredible, given that I spent so much time going down pit lane there. And it didn't take me long at all to have the top 10 within my sights. We're now halfway through lap 2, and look at that, I'm just 2.5 seconds behind Christian Stormy in 11th, and just 3 seconds behind Jan Corinthius in 10th, and the pair of them have crashed out. A huge wreck at Indianapolis, so unbelievably I find myself back in the top 10. Well, we've had some shocking driving standards on display here, and now we're going to see a revenge punt. We're watching Christian Stormy in the red BMW. Now he's going to close in on Jan Karitsius there in the blue Ford Mustang. There's contact. Karitsius' front right collides with Stormy's rear left, and it results in a big crash. And this is what set up the carnage we saw at Indianapolis a few corners later. Stormy is clearly out for revenge. He cuts across the grass with only one target in his sights, that being the blue Ford Mustang of Jan Karitsius. A horrible incident. Yeah, a horrible incident indeed, and it just sums up what was a shocking race. We've jumped forward now to the very last lap. I'm coming through the final chicane. You'll notice that I'm up to P8. Unfortunately, there were no overtakes involved. I never got anywhere near any other cars on track. Instead, the 2 positions came from drive-through penalties to other drivers in the second half of the race. So as a result, I end up in P8. Now that is an absolutely sensational finish given how I started this race with the messed up qualifying and the drive-through penalty. But let's not kid ourselves, this wasn't about me being good, it was about the rest of the field being bad. More than half the drivers on this grid did not finish. Not very good at all. I really do think that this combo is cursed. I've never had a clean run racing a GT3 around Le Mans. And if you haven't had enough of catastrophes at this circuit, you can see on screen now the last race I did a few months ago. It was equally disastrous. Let me know if you've had more joy with this combo this week, and let me know what you thought of the incidents. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers for now.